Hello, I'm Kyle Neal, the Instruction and Digital Archivist here at UW Stevens Point. Welcome to this video lesson on archives. In this presentation, I will introduce you to archives, explain what archives are and what types of materials they hold, explain our own archives here at UWSP, and give you a demonstration of our digital archives. So what is an archives? Now, I'm going to briefly pause here and explain my way out of a Grammar Police citation. When referring to the repository, institution, or building, the word archives is both singular and plural. This is because the word archives collectively refers to many individual archived collections in the same location. The first time I heard the phrase "an archives," I was frustrated at my instructor's grasp of the English language. So I include this here so you do not have to share in my frustrations as a student. Okay, having gotten that out of the way, an archives, much like a library, is a repository of information. Archives collect and preserve all sorts of unique materials related to their institutions. They document the history, growth, and development of the institutions they are associated with. For example, a university archives holds its campus newspapers, information on campus organizations, and administrative papers. Similarly, the National Archives holds unique information relating to the history of the United States, such as the Declaration of Independence, Constitution, and Bill of Rights. Because archives hold many unique materials, they are gold mines for primary sources. These are original sources of information on a topic, first-hand accounts. So, how do archives differ from libraries? While the two institutions are very similar, they differ on what kinds of information they collect, how it is used, and how it is stored. While archives overwhelmingly house unique primary sources, libraries mostly hold secondary sources in their collections. These are materials that speak about a subject in a second-hand manner. A very common example would be a book. Libraries hold lots of books. Most authors rely on primary sources to compile their second-hand accounts of those sources into more readable formats, like a book, magazine, or journal article. It is because archival collections are unique that they are more secure. Think about what a library would do if they lost a book, or if a book got heavily damaged. They simply order a new book. What do you think archives do when a collection is lost or damaged? Well, they hold a funeral and cry. There's nothing that can be done because the materials are unique and irreplaceable. It is also for this reason that archival collections are closed, meaning you cannot browse shelves of archival materials, and they do not circulate, meaning they cannot be checked out. When archival collections are used, researchers ask an archivist to retrieve materials for them, and they research with them in the archive's reading room. When they are done, the researcher leaves and the archival collection stays. Archives also put an emphasis on the preservation of their materials. Much of an archive's holdings are quite old. While researchers can request items that are hundreds of years old, archivists want to ensure that researchers 100 years from now will be able to request and research with the same items. Because archivists want their materials to survive indefinitely, they take special preservation precautions in addition to the higher security in archives. One example would be storage conditions. Archives often have controlled temperature and humidity levels to ensure optimal storage conditions for their collections. But don't let the additional rules and security scare you away from using archives. Just like librarians, archivists really want you to come use their collections. They may be unique and often valuable materials, but what's the point in holding collections if they are not used? Archivists are there to help you with your research needs. Now that you've been given a basic introduction to archives, I'm going to talk about the archives here at UW Stevens Point. We are a university archives, so we hold collections that document aspects of our university. But we are also more broad than that. We also house collections from the Portage County Historical Society pertaining to local Stevens Point and Portage County history, and from the Wisconsin Historical Society pertaining to the history of our 9-county central Wisconsin region. In addition to our 3 major collections, we also house the university's rare books collection. Collecting and preserving the records of our university is the main purpose of the archives. These collections document the history and occurrences of our institution from its founding in 1894 all the way up to today. Our collections are always growing because history continues to be written. Some examples of university collections include chancellor's papers, faculty publications, self-government documentation, student organizational records, athletics documents, campus newspapers, physical objects important to university history, photo collections, and AV materials like audio recordings and film, just to name a few. The Portage County Historical Society houses much of their collection at our archives. This provides for wider use of their collections and great preservation services provided by our archivists. Our students and other researchers have the added benefit of full and convenient access to these collections. Examples of PCHS records include Stevens Point historical collections, local families papers, genealogy collections, local business records like the Stevens Point Brewery, local historical newspapers, photos, and other AV materials. Similarly, many state-owned historical records that pertain specifically to our 9-county central Wisconsin region are housed here. These collections are especially valuable for their international impact and genealogical source material. Records in these collections include pre-1907 state vital records, which are birth, death, and marriage records, naturalization records, census records, probate files, court documents, congressional papers, and state-owned local historic collections. In addition to standard archival collections, it is very common for archives to house rare books and manuscripts. We are one such archives. Though not always unique, one-of-a-kind collections, rare books are often found in archives because their scarcity, fragility, and value require the preservation-focused atmosphere that archives provide. Our rare books collection is comprised of books and periodicals that are both rare and hold historical, curricular, or monetary value. Our very oldest item belongs to this collection, a German Bible published in 1575. Another interesting item is the Book of Martyrs, pictured here. Our copy was published in 1631 and documents the persecution of Protestants in England with hundreds of beautiful, albeit morbid, woodcut images. Alright, so now I am going to give you a brief demonstration of our digital materials available at the archives. I am starting out here just at the main library page. If you don't know how to get here, just Google UWSP Library and click the first result. That'll get you right here. What we're going to be clicking on is over here in the far right, Archives. We'll get there. This will bring us to our main archives page, and you'll see our archives information here. If you need to contact us with any questions about archives or your research, feel free to do that here. You can call us, email us. If you want to stop in physically, this is our address and our room number where we're located, and our reading room hours. So our reading room is open from 10 a.m. to noon, and then we have an hour break for lunch, and then 1 to 4:30. Now, I do encourage you to take a look, just browse through our archives webpage on your own time. There's a lot of really great content here, a lot you can learn. What I'm going to focus on right now, though, is our digital collections over here. So I'm going to click on that. And then you can see here we have a lot of collections that we have displayed on this webpage right here. These are good collections. What I'm going to focus on right now, though, is right here under Digital Collections, our UWSP Universal Access. And this is our main splash page here for our digital collections. Now, when you are here, you could just start up here in the search box and search for whatever it is that you want to research, whatever sources you're looking for. I do not recommend that though, and I will show you why. So we'll do a quick sample search here. We'll do the Soviet Union. And what this does is it searches through the entirety of our collections that we have digitally available here. So you see just on this one search term we have 445 total results. That is way too many. It is unhelpful for you to have to dig through all of those. And you see we have tons of different types of results here. We have several issues of our Pointer newspaper. We have syllabi from different courses that have been taught here at UWSP. We have some of our digitized collections or our finding aids coming up here as well. Some yearbooks in here. So there's just way too many collections here to sort through. So we're going to go back to the main splash page, and I will show you how I recommend that you search and browse through our digital collections. Now, briefly, when you're in our digital collections here, your screen might look a little different from mine. That's probably because you can sort how these are viewed, how these collections are shown to you. So right now I just have the list view, but you can switch to a table view here or to a tile view if you're more thumbnail friendly. I'm just going to use list view for right now because it can pack a little more information on the one screen here for you. But when you are here in our main digital collections page, if you're looking for information, I recommend you go into one of our collection subheadings here and then search inside one of those for more information. That way you are only searching within that one collection. So I'll go through and I'll explain what these are and what they may contain, and I'll demonstrate a few searches inside of each one of these as well. So this first one here, course syllabi, may not be super useful for a lot of research, but a lot of good university historical materials here, and some present ones too. These are just course syllabi, listed by course, listed by topic. Now you can go into, it just shows many of the syllabi of courses that were previously taught here on UWSP. So for example, if we go into the English syllabi folder here, we'll let that load, and then we have lots of different syllabi. For English 101 is the first thing that comes up from different years, 1999 up into the early 2000s, and as you scroll down you'll get into later years and other courses as well. So that is the course syllabi. I'll go back to Browse Archive, which will take us to our main splash page again. Then we have finding aids. This is generally where I recommend that everybody start if they want to search our holdings both digitally and physically here in the archives. Now, not all of our holdings are digitized. In fact, a very small percentage of our holdings are going to be digitally available, but we do continually digitize our holdings, and so you'll recognize, as you may be watching this video well after I've recorded it, that there will be more information available here. But we do continue to digitize. But these finding aids will represent at least the totality of our physical holdings here in the archives, and so they can be browsed this way. Now when you click into our finding aids, as I just have, you'll notice that I have our finding aids separated by the collection type. So you'll remember earlier I talked about two of our main umbrella collections. We have our UWSP related finding aids right down here, and then our Portage County Historical Society finding aids up here. So our finding aids are further limited by the type of collection that they represent. So you can go into, let's say, if we're looking for UWSP collections, you can go into one of these folders and just browse through finding aids, which will be listed numerically by collection. Or let's just go back to finding aids. And what you can do right here is, instead of going up here into the search box and searching the totality of what is digitally available here on our Preservica site, you can go into search within right here, which is just going to search inside of the folder you're currently in. In this case, it will search across all of these finding aids here. So let's duplicate that same search that we did earlier, Soviet Union. And you'll see we have 5 results as opposed to, I believe it was 445. So this is a much more manageable number. You can go into and take a look at what some of these physical collections and finding aids have to offer you. So let's just click here, collection 130. And as you can see, it just gives you the full finding aid right here. So the finding aid gives you lots of good information regarding the collection, right? You get some summary information, inclusive dates, the creator of the collection, who donated it, what our call number of the collection is. You'll also get to see what languages compose the collection. Now, most of our collections are entirely in English, but this is a unique one that comes in many different languages. And then you'll see a nice summary of the collection. So this is a good place to start if you do a search term for Soviet Union and you read through this and you think, okay, now how might this collection relate to my own research topic? You can understand more of that right here. And then very helpfully, you have a biographical or historical note, which will give you some historical context for the collection. It'll help you understand who composed the collection, how it was put together, maybe why it was put together, or just give you some background on the person that the collection is named for, or whose papers they were, or what institution's papers they were, so that you can understand kind of the background and the context of those records. And then scope and content will just show you a little more detailed what the papers are, what types of materials are in there, or maybe a date range, a little more specific on how to navigate the collection there. You'll have some subject headings, mainly are in there for searchability, and kind of some key names or terms that apply to the collection. And then you get into the meat of the finding aid here, which is the contents list. So in here, it's organized by box and by folder. So you can look in here, and if you're looking for correspondence, for example, there's plenty of correspondence here, and then it shows who the correspondence was with, and other sorts of materials, printed materials, subject files on various things. So one very helpful thing is that these finding aids are all text searchable. So if you go up to the magnifying glass here, you can search within. So if we just do that, and it will, we can go enter through the results, and then we can see where our search term actually shows up within the document, and we can view it that way. And this contents list just represents how the collection is physically organized, and it's really good to reference if you do end up in the archives and you request some of these materials from an archivist. So that is a finding aid. That's how you search finding aids. Let's go back to Browse Archive and go to our next collection heading. So next here we have the Poynter student newspaper. These are our digitized student newspapers. The Poynter going all the way back here to 1895. We have them digitized through, I believe it's 2016. So that is a lot of student newspapers there for you. You can browse through by year here and then click into a year, and then further down by the specific date of the issue that you're looking for. So for example, in 1906, we had these 5 issues of the Pointer published. So you can go in here, and just like the finding aids, if you click in one, you'll have the digital access to the newspaper, and of course it is text searchable here. If you want to search for specific terms, you can do that right there. And then our UWSP collections. We have minimal content in here right now. In fact, just one collection that has been partially digitized right now, our James Albertson collection. More to come in the future. For right now, we only have this one collection digitally available. But as you go in here, you can see the aspects of this collection that are digitized, and it's navigable the same way for the previous collections that I have showed you. And then we're back at our main archives splash page here, onto UWSP photo lots. This is presently where we are updating lots of information, so you will definitely see differences between your screen and my screen as we're both in this folder, regarding the amount of photos that are in here. So there's plenty right now, but like I just said, I am currently going through and putting much more in. You'll notice this only goes up to lot 75 right now, and in your time there's probably much more than that available. But these are just our photo lots. That means lot in archives is essentially just a fancy word for a collection of photos or AV materials. So photo lot may be a little redundant, but it is, I guess, more vernacular. So we can just go in here and you can browse through what each of these lots or collections are. So for example, if we want to look at the exterior of Old Main, we have a photo collection for that. We can click into lot 41 here, and then I'm just going to switch to tile view for the photos because the thumbnails are a little larger, and that is honestly what we are looking at here for our photo collections. So for example, we can go into this photo right here, and it looks like it's a postcard. So Old Main on a postcard, back when it had its wings installed here. So this is a larger building than what we're used to for Old Main today. Okay, so that is just how to navigate our photo lots and view some of our images there. We'll go back to our main page again. And then I'm going to switch back to list view. And then we'll go into UWSP series. Now again, these are more institutional records. So collections are going to be miscellaneous collections regarding individuals, institutions, or the community as they relate to UWSP. But our series are going to be actual UWSP records, right? Records created by the university for the university, to some extent. So you'll find like course catalogs, self-governance, documentation, student handbooks, commencement programs, right? All pretty self-explanatory collections there. But these are collections quite representative of our university. And then back to our main page right here. Next we have our yearbooks. So our yearbooks, much like the Pointer student newspaper, you'll find in here organized by year of publication. So you can go in here and you can browse by year and go into the yearbook. It is fully digitized and it is fully text searchable for you there. So we start with our cover here, and you can go down and look at our 1906 yearbook right here, back when we were Stevens Point Normal School. You'll find a lot of that type of language in these older materials when we had different names. President Theron Prey, the first president of Stevens Point Normal School, right there for you. Again, this is all text searchable right here. So if we want to look for keywords right there, we can do that and browse through the yearbook much more efficiently, so you don't actually have to read the whole thing if you do not want to. All right, then we'll go back to our splash page. This is good to point out. If you ever run into this message when you're browsing around, no worries. It's just a bug that's part of the current update level of Preservica here. You didn't lose anything. You're not lost. You can continue. All you have to do is click the button again or refresh your page, and you'll be right as rain, ready to go. So those are the collections that we have currently here in our digital collections repository, right? Our Preservica system. Now what I'm going to do is go back to our digital collections page and show you where you can access some of this other material here that might be a little more navigable in format. Now a lot of great content is on our universal access here. But some content is duplicated here on our digital collections page. And honestly, some of it is more navigable here than we can make it in Preservica. One example here is the pointer. Now, if you want to look through the pointer, it is more searchable in Preservica. But if you're looking for a specific date, it's easier to find it here because you can go in here. You can do the search box. It's not as friendly of a search, but you can do a search box here. Or you can just go down by publication year, 1944 for example. You click on that and you have each issue in 1944 available to you right here. So let's just look at May 3rd. And we have just a PDF available to us here. This is the full thing. It is fully text searchable, so we can do our magical little Control F trick, and let's search for senior. And you can see it highlights where our search terms are there, so you can quickly browse through an issue of the pointer that way. Another resource I would like to show you, going back to our digital collections page, are our yearbooks. Those are organized in a similar way. Again, a little more navigable here than in our universal access. These are under their subheadings of the title of what the yearbook was called during the year it was published. So for example, in 1901 it was called the Nautilus. Most of them you're going to find down here under the title Iris, but these are all going to be sequential, so you can just find the year of the yearbook that you are looking for. Let's look into, let's do 1965. And then we have our fully digitized yearbook right here. Same rules apply. It is fully text searchable. So we can go in here and we can search forward, boom. And look through the yearbook just like that. And if you have any questions about research that you are doing, how to navigate our digital collections, or if you find a finding aid that has some really good material in there, but it does not appear yet on our digital collections, what you can do is contact the archives via email and perhaps request that that collection be digitized or a segment of it be sent to you for your research. We are happy to provide those services to students so long as they are in manageable amounts. Lots and lots of work goes into digitizing a collection, and it does take much longer than what one may think. So if it is a manageable amount and we can easily do that for you, we are happy to provide you some digital access to some of our otherwise solely physical available materials. This concludes your introduction to archives. We covered what archives are and how they differ from libraries. I introduced the UW-Stevens Point archives and gave a broad overview of our collection scopes. and I demonstrated our digital archives and other digital resources. I hope you are now more familiar with the concept of archives and are prepared to explore archives, whether digitally or physically, as needed throughout your college career. If you have any questions about archives, or if you would like some help with archival research, feel free to contact me and I'd be happy to help you find resources to further your research. My contact information is on the screen. You may email or call me with any questions, and if you are in the Stevens Point area, you may certainly stop into the archives to meet with me or for any of your research needs. Thanks for watching.